Happy Earth Day, Councilors.
Happy Earth Day, Mayor and Councilors.
Oh, isn't that fun? Oh, we've got a little protest. Oh, it's beautiful. Well, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for helping us celebrate Earth Day. Well done. Well done. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Please be seated. That's a wonderful way to start a meeting. Just as it is, as everyone I trust has read our acknowledgement to our First Nations friends and neighbors. I'd like to call the meeting to order this evening. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda? Councillor Cassidy.
Recommended that the April 22nd, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be approved as completed, circulated.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Question, all in favor? Contrary, carried. Thank you. Item number 3, the adoption of minutes. Councillor Watt.
I'd like to recommend that the minutes of the April 8th, 2024 special open session and regular council meetings and public hearing be adopted and circulated, and the summary of the April 8th, 2024 public hearing regarding proposed official community plan bylaw number 4985-2018, amendment bylaw number 5292-2024, and zoning bylaw number 4662-2010, amendment bylaw number 5293-2024, Lot C and D, Daffodil Drive, be approved.
Is there a seconder? What? Question, all in favor? Contrary, carried. And now we have the wonderful opportunity to welcome some youth in our community to address council. Councillor Thompson, would you like to make an introduction?
Well, yes, I'd just like to welcome you all. We're always thrilled to hear about you and the things that you're looking forward to seeing come to fruition in our community. So welcome, and we'll be listening with open minds.
Thank you. And who's going to address council?
I'm just going to provide a brief introduction, Mayor Sager and Council. So good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we're going to hear from the youth representatives from 4 of the youth committees that support youth and staff in West Vancouver, and also hear an update about Youth Week. And as Councillor Thompson said, it's always exciting when Council can hear directly from the youth. I'd like to introduce Lena Nakamura, our Aquatics and Youth Services Manager, and then she will introduce the youth speakers tonight. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. There are so many opportunities for youth to get involved in West Vancouver, and our various youth committees are one way for youth to do just that. I'm very pleased to be here tonight with 6 youth: Hannah Feng, Sophia Andrews, Bianca Roth, Ronnie Bigdelli, Jason Gill, and Emily Chen, who are representatives from each of our 4 active youth committees. They've done some incredible work over the last year, and I'm going to pass it over to them, and I will stop talking and let them share what they've done.
It's wonderful. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hannah Fang, and I am a member of the Intergenerational Youth Committee. I'm in grade 10 at Collingwood School. IYC is for students in grades 8 to 12 and was formed in the fall of 2022. This committee aims to plan and participate in fun intergenerational activities designed to strengthen community, promote understanding, respect, and the sharing of knowledge. I joined the IYC to be able to connect with seniors because being in Canada, I am far away from my own grandparents who are in China. Therefore, this committee gives me the opportunity to connect with seniors and fill that need. The committee is also built on the principle of establishing relationships that build self-esteem and contribute to positive physical and mental health for youth, seniors, and other groups. Over the past year, the Intergenerational Youth Committee has been very busy with a variety of interesting initiatives. We supported the Seniors Activity Center with the Feed the Need initiative by volunteering at the Saks Winter Market to sell handmade artisanal items and engaging with members of the public about the initiative. We hosted our own Feed the Need market by selling candy bags that IYC made, including freeze-dried candies donated by me, and the remainder of knitted items in the West Vancouver West Vancouver Community Center atrium. We finalized an activity calendar for the remainder of the school year called Intergenerational Connections and invited seniors at the SAC to be a part of the planning process, including the lead member of the gardening club making an appearance. We engaged in community outreach by attending some of the Thursday night SAC dinners to promote the community's upcoming workshops and fun activities. We began planning for another Speed Convos with Seniors and Teens event on June 1st, also known as Intergenerational Day, where youth will engage in meaningful conversations with seniors at the SAC, providing opportunities for new connections. Thank you.
Thank you. That's fine. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sophia Andrews and I am in grade 6 at Collingwood School. The Preteen Advisory Committee was formed in 2016 and is a committee of youth in grades 6 and 7. This committee aims to teach preteen youth and valuable leadership skills to assist with the development of programs and events for preteens in West Vancouver. PTAC was paused in 2020 due to COVID and restarted in early 2024. I decided to join PTAC because I moved to Vancouver about a year ago from California, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to learn and connect with the community. I will now pass the mic to Bianca, who will fill you in on what we have worked on so far.
Thank you, Bianca. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Bianca Roth. I'm also in grade 6 and I also go to Collingwood. I joined PTAC because I wanted to make a change in our community. So I decided to start looking for possible opportunities for 11-year-old girls. I finally found PTAC, which was an available opportunity for me to volunteer in my community. We've had a busy year, including opening in February 2024. PTAC members have had a busy year crafting a work plan, engaging leadership, development, and getting to know each other and their community service goals. Early activities have included engaging in tea and chat with seniors at the Seniors Activity Center. This social connection exercises featured tea, cookies, and a chance to chat, and meeting up with IYC members to explore intergenerational opportunities to work together. We are very excited to share our ideas with the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi. My name is Rani Bigdelli, and I'm in grade 11 at Sentinel Secondary School. The Whatever Youth Committee was formed in 2014 and is a committee of youth in grades 8 to 12 dedicated to creating inclusive and safe spaces for 2S LGBTQIA+ youth and other allies, planning and promoting activities and events, and to raising community awareness around important issues. I personally love the community that I've built and that we've built around the space, as well as all the fun activities and outings the amazing youth outreach workers plan for us. We've also had a very busy year, including planning and executing a variety of free and fun group activities and out trips for 2S LGBTQIA+ youth over the year, including a trip to an escape room and the movies, planning outdoor recreation programs in partnership with local outdoor recreation professionals, including day plan for snow tubing at Cypress Mountain, and watching inspirational documentaries about queer individuals finding their place in the world of recreation and sports. We've also began planning for an end-of-year celebration on May 30th to say goodbye to some of the graduating committee members, while also creating a safe and welcoming atmosphere for recruiting new committee members in earlier grades. And we will also be supporting the Handsworth Secondary Pride Club's project of hosting the first queer prom on the North Shore by welcoming the club to host one of their lead-up events at the West Vancouver Youth Hub. Our work at Whatever primarily places the needs and wants of 2S LGBTQIA+ youths as our top priority. As demonstrating through our efforts, we ensure that a safe space is established for the more vulnerable members of the community and do our best to provide them with the experiences they have as much rights to enjoy as any others. We look forward to continuing to support West Vancouver in becoming a safe space for everyone, regardless of background or identity, and are excited to continue being engaged members of this community. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Hello, my name is Jason Gill, and I'm a member of the Youth Advisory Committee. I'm in grade 8 at Collingwood School, and the reason I decided to join YAC this year was because I wanted to be part of a leadership program and improve my own leadership skills. What I love mostly about YAC is the feeling of belonging in your community and knowing that you will be accepted no matter what. I believe YAC provides these skills and community to all. The Youth Advisory Committee is for students in grade 8 to 12 and was formed in 1995. The general function of this committee is to focus on municipal youth issues and initiatives, and to assist the youth services team and other departments with programming and some policy development as it relates to youth. Over the past year, members of YAC have worked with peers to identify important themes impacting local youth, including mental health and wellness, post-secondary options, volunteering and employment, and networking and community connection. Using those themes, YAC hosted a two-part event for youth from across West Vancouver and neighboring communities, an evening social event for community building, and a day-long youth leadership workshop promoting connection and belonging post-COVID-19 that featured a combination of speakers, active workshops, and engagement. Work with the youth services team to promote and host their annual holiday dinner event for youth, their families, and important partners just before the holiday season. Work with the 365 Give.ca to engage West Vancouver youth to participate in #DoOneGiveDay on April 25th and to facilitate the involvement of community in this annual day of action. Participated in reviewing and adjudicating youth grant applications made to the Local to Global Youth Initiatives Fund and providing recommendations to the Community Grants and Arts Panel. Planned all aspects of the upcoming Youth Council and Youth Appreciation Awards event for BC Youth Week. We are so excited for BC Youth Week and for what the rest of the year will bring. I will now pass the mic to Emily, who will finish by sharing some important information with you on our upcoming BC Youth Week celebrations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gill.
Thank you, Jason, for sharing the YAC to all of us. And hi, everyone. My name is Emily Chen. I'm a student at West Vancouver Secondary. I'm currently in grade 10 right now. So I'm a new member of the Youth Advisory Committee. And the reason that I decided to join YAC is because I believe that West Vancouver is a very accepting and engaging community. And by being a part of this committee, I can be more involved in local projects and to be able to speak up for things that are matter to youth. So for the BC Youth Week, this is the celebration of youth that held annually during the first week of May. It is a week of fun, interaction, and celebration intended to build a strong connection between young people and their communities, and to profile the accomplishments and diversity of youth. We are very pleased to be a part of the planning and to be sharing some of the upcoming events with you today. A pre-Youth Week celebration that just took place last Friday, which is April 19, was the grade 6-7 dance. It ran from 7 to 9 p.m. In this event, grade 6 and 7 students were invited to the annual grade 6-7 dance, and this event was sold out with 300 tickets sold. These preteen dances are safe, supervised, and fun for all. So for the upcoming Youth Week, the celebrations include Self-Care Night, which is on May 1st, from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Youth Hub. In this event, youth are invited to join the youth service at West Vancouver Youth Hub to enjoy an evening dedicated to fun self-care activities. For the clothing swap event, that is on May 3rd from 4 to 7 p.m., also at the Youth Hub, In partnership with Capilano Youth Service and North Shore Neighborhood House, youth will experience a fun and earth-friendly way of refreshing their wardrobe by swapping with others. The Youth Rec Night is on May 4th, beginning at 6 p.m. at the West Vancouver Civic Site. West Vancouver Youth Service, in partnership with aquatics and gymnastic teams, will host a variety of free recreation opportunities for preteens and youth this evening. The gaming tournament that just happens earlier on the same day, which is from 12 to 3:30, also at the West Vancouver Civic Site, youth will enjoy a gaming tournament series featuring various fun videos and board games. The Youth Council meeting on May 7 from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Municipal Hall. In that event, the YAC members, mayor and council, interested family and friends, and staff are invited to our annual Youth Council meeting. YAC members will prepare and deliver a mock council meeting and address a topic of importance to West Vancouver youth. So, after that, the Youth Appreciation Awards reception will take place from 6 to 8:30 p.m., also at the Municipal Hall. This event is celebrated each year in conjunction with BC Youth Week. This event recognizes exceptional youth who exemplify a strong commitment to giving back to their local and global communities. Youth Award recipients, mayor and council, and interested friends and families are invited to join staff at Municipal Hall to celebrate youth's outstanding achievements. Certificates are rewarded under 3 categories: youth recognition, community enhancement, and outstanding youth team. Staff are proud to celebrate these local youth and their significant achievements through this program each year. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So thank you, Mayor and Council, for your time this evening. The youth and I are happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much. I would just like to congratulate all of you for participating in this, and I please forgive me, but I can't help but reflect that it was, I think, about I don't want to give the year out, it was a long time ago, when then Mayor Peter Jones invited me to sit on a committee in the municipality. I was in high school at the time, and that spurred my interest in what happened in this building and caused me to run for public office when I was very young, not much older than all of you. And it is really nice tonight. It was my previous council in 1995 that set up the Youth Advisory Committee, and I'm really glad it's still running, and I'm glad you enjoy it. So that's my personal thoughts. Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Well, of course, I'd like to thank you as well. All your presentations were very professional and really enjoyable to listen, so thank you. Unlike the mayor's capacity, I'm not sure I could deliver such a great presentation at your age. And they were great. And I did have 2 questions. So first, the intergenerational youth group. Either of you ask, I'm just wondering with this relationship, the intergenerational relationship, what sort of values or learnings did you have in developing these relationships? Do any of you want to speak to some insights there?
Thank you. Bianca.
Thank you. We were able to help each other out by learning what each other were interested in, how we could benefit our community by learning what each other were interested in, and by tailoring that to our community. So we were able to benefit by their communication, so we could understand how and what workshops we could set up, so we could all connect on the similar level, so we could all build strong and helpful friendships and community connections.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that is excellent. And in fact, that's the... Yes. You know, honestly, that's what I think we all strive for in council as well, is to integrate with our community and learn from them. And these presentations are helpful. It was really nice to hear, and I've heard from a number of youth groups, that you enjoy movies, outdoor as well as theaters, your outdoor recreation, And I was glad to hear that you find the community accepting. That's really nice to hear. And actually, in the realm of fitness and outdoor activity, I believe the mayor has something he wouldn't mind mentioning.
I don't think they can come though because it's during school hours, but to everybody else, next Tuesday, April 30th at 10 a.m., we will be opening our new outdoor fitness facility, Keen Fitness in Ambleside Park. So hope you will all join us, come in your workout gear. We're all going to work out together. It'll be fun.
We should do a special one. And one final comment or the YAC talked about a grade 6 or 7 dance that you've had, and I believe at the Long Service Awards, we honored 2 of the chaperones that supervise these dances, and I'm not sure if that's right or not. Maybe it's another dance, but it sounded like there was hundreds of children that goes to these dances. Does anyone want to fill me in a bit more about what value these chaperones bring and how much you guys enjoy the dances?
Through
the mayor.
Mr. Mayor over to Councillor Thompson. We have youth volunteers that help out at the dances, and they have a variety of different roles that they play. So I feel like perhaps that's maybe what you're referencing to, is some of our older youth come back to help out at the grade 6, 7 dances. It's a really great way to give back to their community and also get to celebrate and see kind of how the younger generation is enjoying that activity. So this group in particular wasn't involved in the dance per se, but we just wanted to highlight that that's a big community event that we host. And yeah, it was busy. 300 tickets sold out, so it's very busy.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Sorry, Councillor Gambioli?
So just after hearing all your reports, it made me think what's happened to the youth council meeting and whatnot. But then I quickly looked on my calendar. So we're still on for May the 7th. I'm assuming some of you guys will be involved in that. So May 7th, and that's here.
Correct, yeah.
Scheduled to be here. Is that open to the public? Or?
It is open to public,
Yeah,
and we're working really hard to encourage the young people to invite their friends and family to fill up council chambers.
Awesome. Okay, so in a couple of weeks, we'll see some of you again. Okay, looking forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy.
Well, I just personally would like to say thank you very much. It takes a lot to step outside your comfort zone and look out to make new friends, to help others. It takes a tremendous amount. And they say of volunteerism, you get more from doing so than you ever give. But I want to say what it has given you, I'm sure an inordinate amount of enjoyment, pleasure, self-satisfaction. But from my observation of you all this evening, it has also given you a tremendous sense of self-confidence and composure. You spoke tonight in front of everyone, seemingly without any nervousness, and I have seen many an adult come up here decidedly uncomfortable in speaking in a public forum. So what you've also gained is that self-confidence and composure will serve you well throughout all your life. Thank you.
Nicely said. We've got a motion. Councillor Thompson, could you move a thank you motion, please?
I'd be delighted. So I'd like to recommend that the report titled Annual Report from Youth-Driven Committees, an update on BC Youth Week from the Aquatic and Youth Service Manager dated April 8th, 2024 be received for information and gratitude.
Thank you. Councillor Watt, seconded. No further discussion. I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary carried. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, and thanks for all of your participation throughout the year. Thank you. We'll turn now to item number 5, business bylaw. Councillor Cassidy, please. Thank you. Councillor
Great,
Cassidy.
thank you. It is recommended that proposed business license bylaw number 4455, 2005, amendment bylaw number 5329, 2024 be read first, second, and third time. And number 2, proposed bylaw notice enforcement bylaw number 4368, 2004, amendment bylaw number 5330, 2024 be read first, second, and third time.
Thank you. Councillor Watt. Thank you. Any discussion, Councillor Gambioli? Sorry. Matt, do you want it? Are you here for information, or would you like to make a presentation?
Mayor Sager, I'm just here for information. It is a pretty straightforward report drafted in conjunction with our partners at the West Vancouver Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you. This bylaw, for those of you who might not have had an opportunity to read the full agenda tonight, is to prohibit the sale of bear spray to youth in the community. Seems quite sensible. Councillor Cassidy? No, you just got your microphone on.
Oh, do I? Oh, I just enjoyed having it on. It's very interesting. I didn't actually have anything further to say, but years ago I was going out with a friend to the Northwest Territories, and we were just going to travel around, and her husband was very, very nervous about the fact that we might encounter a bear. Hopefully he might have been, but anyway, he wanted us to buy bear spray, and we didn't know where to buy bear spray. So how are all these individuals finding a location that this can be purchased?
Through the mayor to Councillor Cassidy, despite our best efforts, there are some ways to get around these regulations, such as having a sibling or someone of age purchase it for purposes which it is not meant for. Currently in the district, we have a limited amount of businesses that do sell bear spray. This is more of a preventative measure. Vancouver just came into some legislation, came into effect there in 2023, and to kind of strengthen our ties and make sure we have a united front, given that we have observed increases in the use of bear spray for illicit purposes. Our partners at West Vancouver Police came to me to help them implement another tool under our bylaw enforcement abilities to kind of attack these problems. Unfortunately, it's not a catch-all for all these issues, but hopefully it will implore businesses to be a bit more responsible and dissuade people from purchasing it for illicit purposes, because they have to provide identification, legal identification, which is then documented and stored. So if something were to come up, there would be a paper trail that would be able to be followed up on. So this is more of a preventative measure in conjunction with our other partners in the Lower Mainland who have implemented this. But unfortunately, access to bear spray, if someone is so inclined to get it that badly, there are ways to subvert these concerns.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to thank you very much for taking the initiative to bring this forward to us, because obviously I support it. I think it's excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. We've got a motion on the table. I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you. Item number 6, the establishment of our planning committee. I'm very happy about this. Councillor Thompson.
I do have a motion to pass, but I also have some questions or amendments to suggest.
Could we put the motion on the floor and then speak to that?
Absolutely. So propose that the Planning Committee Terms of Reference Policy 0104, attached as Appendix A to the April 8th, 2024 report entitled Establishing a Planning Committee, proposed terms of reference be approved.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Lambert? Thank you. And you would like to propose some changes? Sorry. No, I don't think they weren't planning a presentation.
We have one available, but it's pretty straightforward.
Members of council have received the report, but Councillor Gambioli, would you?
Well, if you've got a presentation that you've created, I would like to see it. I mean, I think the public would like to see it.
Okay. We've had a request. Let's have the presentation.
So good evening, Your Worship, members of council. So yes, it is a very short presentation with respect to this item. As with many things, there's both a long and a short background in West Van. So I think the first reference to a planning committee I'm aware of was Front Page News in 1926 in the weekly West Van publication.
That's great.
And I guess over the following almost century, the council's had various committees and committee structures. Leading us to a more recent decision at the end of last year where, with the explicit intention of creating or re-establishing, I suppose, a planning committee with a view to more efficient and agile responses to planning matters, Council disbanded 3 planning-related committees, that's Design Review Committee, Heritage Advisory Committee, and the Lower Caulfield Advisory Committee, and directed staff to bring forward a mandate in terms of reference for said planning committee. So these terms of reference describe the mandate. It's about really having impartial and professional recommendations made to both staff and council regarding 3 things. The first is what we call policy initiatives. So these relate to things like land use policies, housing, strategies, economic development, and they could be at a district-wide scale or things like local area planning scale. The second is similar to the disbanded previous Design Review Committee. It's really providing recommendations on significant applications, things like commercial, mixed-use or multifamily projects, with a view to things like architecture, site planning, public realm, responding to context. And then thirdly, any other planning matters that could be referred to the committee by staff or council, and that's really highlights the responsive nature of this. So we do anticipate monthly meetings, but the work plan would really be adjusted based on things like the milestones of major policy work, when we get those significant development applications that would benefit from independent recommendations, and the nature of any emerging items that, based on things like council's changing priorities or anything new that could often seems to be continuing to come down from the province. The membership would be appointed by council, so this would be a council committee with a council liaison. It would be advisory in nature, so council is not delegating any of its executive functions. As mentioned, it's really about providing independent, impartial recommendations. 7 to 9 members, importantly, we're recommending resident members with the appropriate background, so we're looking for things like registered planners, registered architects, landscape architects, folks from development industry, that could be engineers, land economists, as well as some representation from a broader civic lens. So that could be people with experience on local boards, committees, and so on. And these members would be appointed for up to 2 years, up to 3 times, up to 3 terms, with the intent to rotationally manage so that there was always a degree of continuity and committee membership, if you like, across any given year. And so in conclusion, staff are recommending, based on your direction to us in December, that council approve the proposed terms of reference. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And I should just add that for me, in version 1, we had a planning committee. It had been established long before I got on the scene, and it worked incredibly efficiently, an opportunity to really capture some of the very capable members of the community to volunteer their time, and I'm quite certain this will help guide policy well into the future. Councillor Gambioli?
So just based on what we've got in the report and what you just reiterated, the work of the committee is mostly going to be referrals from council or staff. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, Your Worship, through Your Worship to Councillor Gambioli, yes. For example, it could be that staff themselves bring something forward if there's a major milestone during a long-range project, or staff themselves use their judgment to bring forward major applications as described in the terms of reference. But absolutely, council, during any items consideration, could direct staff to also seek the opinion of the committee.
So my concern is kind of timing. Like, I know how these things work. We create a terms of reference. We then go out to make it public, to recruit some people for the committee. That takes a couple of months, and then we look at everybody's resumes, and then council makes a decision about who's on the committee, and then we set up, etc. So, you know, this is not going to get going before the summer, you know, so, and we've got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe, basically. So my question is sort of, how soon do you see this actually kicking in? And we've got so much. You know, we've got Cypress Village coming down, that's so huge, and we've got all kinds of things that have been in the pipeline for years. Like, how are people on this committee going to get a handle on all that stuff, all the new legislation from province, et cetera? Like, how do you see that sort of happening?
Through your worship, so yeah, with respect to timing, should council approve as is or as amended the terms of reference, then obviously this week staff would be preparing promotional material, booking ad space. Realistically, over the month of May, volunteer applications would be submitted and council would be in a position to make the appointments before the summer. So really we would be looking at, as you described, at the committee being in place after the summer recess. And then my comment would be there won't be any lack of equally important work going forward over the coming years that the committee, you know, staff and council would benefit from their input on. In terms of anything that is in front of council prior to the committee being in place, I think another relevant point would be those would have already benefited from previous committees, whether that be design review, etc., or working groups and so on, and that the new committee would obviously be briefed on anything that was still in process, and it would be staff's job to, and with council's judgment as well, to really isolate what was the biggest bang for the committee's time, if you like. What's the best way to get their benefit from meetings in terms of the most high profile or important decision points.
So yeah, I mean, my concern would just be that I can see with so many development applications that, you know, if this committee can't get a handle on them and make a decision in time, that's actually going to slow council's work down.
I think just to give you a bit of comfort on that, because in preparation for this, staff and myself have already been out talking to some very qualified people who have said if this is established and if we're asked to participate, they would be willing to. One of those individuals is Steve Nichols, the former director for many years, very highly regarded and capable, and Russell Hollingsworth, well-known and well-regarded architect in the community. Both those gentlemen have said they're willing to step forward right away, and I did receive today, just by word of mouth, a resume from an extraordinarily capable individual who we would be very lucky to have on. So I think we're going to get a great response to this. I hope the ad can go out quickly, and I think we will be well served. And I agree, Councillor Gambioli, we've got lots of work to do. So with you on that. Is there any? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you.
Just if I could make some friendly amendments or adjustments, just because any amendments to the terms of reference would have to come back to council. So there's a couple things that came to mind as I reviewed it this weekend. And if I can get council support, I'd like to add in that we should offer a hybrid option. And not that this would be encouraged, but I think if we're going to attract the high-level people that we need, you know, they need the flexibility and option to weigh in if they're meeting monthly, if not more, to attend a meeting in a hybrid way. That's one. And then in the subcommittees, it says subcommittees will only be established when additional resources can be allocated to support the purposes of subcommittee. And I believe that has to do with staff resources. And my feeling is that if this committee forms subcommittees to deal with special areas like heritage or special interest projects that come to term, I'd like them not to be barriered by the need for staff, so they can meet as a subcommittee on the side. but all recommendations and discussion would come through the planning committee and therefore have all the staff support they need. Pascal?
Sorry.
Thank
Yes.
you, Mayor Sager, through you to Councillor Thompson. And just before I respond to the query, Mayor Sager, I just wanted to let you know we do have one member of the public that has signed up to speak to this item.
Thank you. Thank you.
So if we get to that point, please remind me. I'll call them up. The two proposed amendments that were offered by Councillor Thompson, the first of the two is regarding the hybrid option. The option of having a hybrid meeting is actually contained within the council committee procedure bylaw. So it would not be an amendment to this terms of reference. It would rather be a bylaw amendment that we would have to bring forward. That would apply in theory, to be fair, to all committees. And staff have found that running a hybrid committee meeting is more resource intensive. It requires generally at least one more FTE per meeting. And we have not been able to resource that in the past for the many committees that we have had. Having said that, if council directs an amendment to the procedure bylaw, we could make that. We would just have to bring that through council for readings and adoption. But there are some resource constraints and concerns on the behalf of staff. The second item regarding subcommittees, if I understood correctly, the suggestion might have been that subcommittees could meet without staff support. If that were the case, they wouldn't be subcommittees. They would just be a group of 2 or 3 residents that might meet and chat about a topic. But if it's going to be a subcommittee, then it would have to be, again, by bylaw, resourced and supported by staff.
Okay, well, thank you for those insights, and I guess we'll just leave this up to the committee as they form to decide how they want to request support. So thanks for indulging me.
Thanks very much. Any further discussion? If not, I'm going to call a question. Oh, sorry. Yes, there is someone in the public. My mistake.
Thank you, Mr. Gary Porosnik has signed up to speak to this item.
Thank you, Mr. Porosnik.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a topic I've been on for a while, and I have some questions about how does this committee fit with the responsibilities of staff to do planning, responsibility of council to come up with, let's call it strategy policy, and for the public input in terms of what does West Vancouver going to be. So for instance, you've heard me before to say that our development has been 1/6 of the average of the Metro Vancouver municipalities in the last 50 years. So I would argue, and we have no housing for our staff and our kids for 25 years. So I got to say something went wrong in the past with these planning committees or the councils or staff. What's going to change here to get us to do the right decision in terms of how many units to build, at what price points? In other words, and I know the OCP has a vision, but quite frankly, the OCP was light on development. I was told that by staff in 2017 because there was so much resistance to development. So what we have there, in my view, I haven't seen anything to the contrary, we have not met the terms of the OCP in terms of numbers of units. The housing market is worse than it was in 17 for our people. So we have, I think, a crisis in terms of where are we going as a community, and I'm trying to understand how this planning committee is going to fill any void or help get us there. So I've got some questions here about how do we actually get at these issues about, we need another, lots of workers here to look after elderly in home and whatever. We need lots of workers. We need people that want to live here in terms of legacy. And we haven't even started to report on what that plan is. So I'm trying to understand what this committee is going to do to help deal with those issues.
I think that's a question really that should come to me because this is an appointment by council. And the concept here is that we will go out into the community and get the assistance of very qualified people who will be an asset not only to council but to the staff and help, in fact, probably expedite things, not delay things.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I don't hear that in this plan because what's required is us to say we need 4,000 units, lower costs, and name the prices and whatever, and I don't think that committee is doing that, and I don't see most of the people that they're recruiting have that knowledge. I think some of the planning staff have that knowledge if they have the time to do it and the mandate. But when I talk to planning staff here for the last 7 years, the feeling is that the community is not supporting this growth, and the reality is it is. It's just not being vocal about it, and I think you've heard more of that recently. So I don't see anything yet that is really focused on that issue, even on the people you're going to recruit in this committee. These are people doing part-time volunteer. This is full-time stuff.
Well, Mr. Prosnick, I'm going to have to just disagree with you on this one. It was a commitment that I made during the election period that we would bring this forward. It got support, and from my previous experience with it, it offers a wonderful opportunity to invite more people to participate in the planning process, to capture some of the really capable people that are out there, and you'll just have to wait and see.
Well, I don't disagree with the concept. I'm saying there's a key element here that doesn't seem to be addressed anywhere in the financial plan for 5 years, this plan, or...
Mr. Prosnick, you are doing a great job at almost every council meeting to remind us of these issues, so we got your point. Okay?
So you report back.
We will. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? I'm going to call a question. All in favor? Contrary, the motion is carried. Item number 7 regarding reduced setbacks, Councillor Watt.
Yeah, I just want to give a little bit of background first on why I've put this motion forward. We've obviously got a real crisis with street parking across the community, and I became aware that Surrey and several other municipalities have reduced the setbacks, and I did a little more research and ran this through our fire chief, and it would appear that British Columbia has some of the most stringent setbacks in the country, and this 2.5 meter setback is supported by a lot of the municipalities in the Lower Mainland and also across the U.S. And the Surrey Fire Department, they did a number of evaluations and simulations, and they found that there was absolutely no impact to delivering fire services. So there's no real downside. There will be a bit of cost, I would presume, and we're instructing staff to check with that. But otherwise, we hope to increase parking. So I would like to recommend that staff investigate and report back to council the feasibility and implications of reducing the no stopping area on either side of the fire hydrants from 5 meters to 2.5 meters in order to create additional parking spaces within the district.
Thank you, Councillor Snyder. Thank you. Any discussion? Question. All in favor? Contrary? Carried. Thank you. Item number 8, proposed code of conduct. And before I turn it over to Councillor Gambioli, some people have asked, why is this item even being considered? And I would just like to tell you that it is being considered as a requirement of the provincial legislation, Bill number 26-2021, Section 113. And this was a new law enacted, I believe, in 2021. It sets out the requirement whether or not to adopt a code of conduct. Our previous council, that is the one before us, had the same requirement in November of 2020. They directed staff to propose a code which was brought forward and considered by them on July 12th, 2021, and that council defeated the bylaw. In April of last year, again in accordance with the provincial legislation, I established a committee to consider this issue for our current council. I asked Councillors Gambioli, Lambert, and Snyder, along with 2 members of our community, a very prominent lawyer and somebody well-known in the human rights field, and I recognize him here this evening with thanks, and that is Mr. David Thomas, and former Judge Doug Moss. They asked to join and study and report back, and that is the background as to why this is even here in front of us tonight, and I'll now turn it over Councillor Gambioli.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Councillor
Oh, sorry,
Lambert.
is it? No, Councillor Lambert? That's you, Councillor Lambert, sorry.
Okay, I think Councillor Gambioli was going to second it. So I will move the recommendation.
I apologize. Councillor Lambert. I should have jumped in earlier. Thank you, Councillor Thompson, for the cue. There are 9 members of the public that have signed up to speak to this item.
Okay.
Ideally before the motion's on the floor, but that's up to you as chair. Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll just put the motion on the floor and then we can invite people to speak to it.
Great, okay. So I recommend that the proposed Council Code of Conduct bylaw number 5289/2024 be read a first, second, and third time.
Second.
Thank you. And now we'll ask any member of the public who wishes to address council, and then we'll have council discussion.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Sager. I will start with people in the chamber. The first person on this list is Michael Evison, followed by John Miller and David Thomas.
Thank you. Former councillor and esteemed Michael Evison, nice to see you here this evening, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of council, I have a very simple message. Simply put, I find that the proposed code of conduct is plainly insulting to all past, present, and no doubt future members of council. What's more, if you wish to degrade future elected officials, then by all means vote for this wrong-headed resolution. Otherwise, firmly defeat the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Evison. The next speaker is
John Miller, followed by David Thomas.
Thank you. Dr. Miller, thank you for joining us this evening.
My pleasure, Mr. Mayor and councillors. I've had over 50 years of experience in health administration in many countries, and I am firmly in support of this motion to have a code of conduct here. We are facing in this world right now what is being called a poly-crisis. There are many urgent problems facing the world, the planet, and this community. These include climate change and global warming. You know, we've already up at 1.5 degrees. We've got wildfires, etc. You know the list. Species are disappearing, and there's a risk of planetary collapse, a very real risk, where we are having wars with the risk of nuclear holocaust. We've got increased wealth and income inequality. We've got poverty. We've got, the mayor well knows and can speak to it, homelessness, leading to addictions, overdose deaths, despair, loneliness, anxiety, mental illness, crime, and violence. But what I do want to say is this is not the end of the world. And there's a book by that name, if you want evidence on this. This is produced by our World in Data, showing that if we act now, we can avert many of these catastrophes. And we must act now if we want to leave a habitable planet for our children. Some solutions are stopping and burning of fossil fuels, replace those with renewables, with a just transition, leaving no one behind. And on the war front and the climate front, international cooperation to ban nuclear weapons and take climate action. That is going to require cooperation and collaboration at all levels of government, including international. And this can only be achieved through agreeing on following certain values and principles for collective action, as well as individual action. Some of these values and principles include empathy for others' needs and ideas, compassion for others' needs, caring, respectful listening, and civil exchange of views with peaceful conflict resolution. This requires a code of conduct at all levels of governance in order to maintain trust and confidence in our governing bodies through demonstrating integrity and accountability of conduct and showing respectful and collaborative leadership. This means having respectful debates without harassment, defamation, or abuse, and adopting values of well-being, social unity, respect and inclusion, and peaceful conflict resolution to support good leadership and governance, and then taking action accordingly. This is why I urge you, as a responsible council, to vote in favor of a code of conduct tonight. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Miller.
The next speaker is David Thomas, followed by, I believe it says David Guthrow.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas, thanks so much for joining us this evening, and thank you for volunteering your time, your valuable time, to consider this issue.
Well, thanks, Mayor and Council. Am I supposed to tell you that I live at 5696 Eagle Harbor Road?
We don't do that anymore. You just say, I live in West Vancouver.
Oh, okay. Anyway, as you pointed out, I'm a member of the Code of Conduct Committee, and I'm one of the two members that are representing the public there. You mentioned my background just a little bit, but I'll just emphasize I've been a lawyer in British Columbia for 35 years, and the last 12 years I worked exclusively in human rights, and for 7 of those years I was the chairperson of the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal in Ottawa. And the last couple of years since moving back to West Vancouver, I've helped the British Columbia Human Rights Tribunal as a mediator in over 200 complaints. So it's a long way of saying that workplace harassment policy is familiar territory for me, and I've assisted this West Vancouver committee with several redrafts of the original Code of Conduct bylaw that was first proposed 3 years ago. And even though our committee's worked diligently on the new bylaw since last June, I'm going to take the unusual position of suggesting to council to take a moment and to consider whether or not the cure is worse than the illness. These things don't always work out the way people plan them to, despite the best intentions. And I say that because there have been numerous reports from across the country of municipal codes of conduct being used for strategic and political purposes. In some cases, they've been used to silence council members for their opinions about matters that have nothing to do with their municipal responsibilities. Under this new proposed bylaw, there could be no limit of complaints filed. And whether they are well-founded or frivolous, each one will have to be investigated and dealt with. It will require the establishment of a new position in the municipality of an integrity commissioner, and more serious cases might require the retainer of an outside investigator. And the cost of those investigations to the municipality will not be insignificant. And I believe there are several other municipalities in the GVRD.
We now call it Metro.
Oh, Metro. See, I've been out of the municipality for too long. I haven't caught up with everything. But anyway, it's very expensive, and a number of other municipalities are finding that now. So the question the council needs to consider is, you already have your conduct regulated by the Community Charter Code of Conduct, the West Vancouver Harassment and Respectful Workplace Policy, and there's also a council procedure bylaw that applies to council meetings. And you've got a council committee procedure bylaw that applies to decorum at advisory body meetings. These policies apply to the mayor and council and have guided their conduct in the past. Do we really need an additional bylaw, this proposed code of conduct? What I have not seen is an overwhelming need for something new. Remember, as the mayor pointed out, this code of conduct was forced upon all municipalities by statutory amendments passed by the provincial government in 2021. In my opinion, it feels like this is a solution that's being forced on everyone in search of a problem.
That's time, sir.
I think we'll allow Mr. Thomas
Can I have one
to
sentence?
finish. Thank you.
My fear is the code of conduct has the potential to become misused and may serve as a tool to chill people's right to freedom of expression. We've seen this happen elsewhere, and the potential for it to happen right here exists. In the absence of compelling need, I'd encourage council to vote against adopting this code of conduct at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. The next speaker.
The next speaker is David Guthrow, followed by Elaine McHarg and David Marley. Mr. David Guthrow is next.
I have an email from him.
Oh, sorry. Ms. McCart, are you speaking for him?
I'm speaking for David Guthrow, yes. So from David Guthrow, I have an email from him. From David Guthrow, my apologies for not being able to appear in person to support the adoption of a code of conduct for the District of West Vancouver. My own personal code of conduct requires me to spend the evening on my wife's birthday doing something just as important, but in a different West Vancouver venue. I've asked Elaine McHarg to read the following on my behalf. David Guthrow, Westport Road, with a business location located on Folkestone Way. I believe there are a number of solid reasons, this is from David, I believe there are a number of solid reasons to adopt a code of conduct for the for the District of West Vancouver. They include enhanced accountability and transparency. A code of conduct sets clear standards and behavior for elected officials, ensuring they act ethically and transparently in their roles. This promotes trust between the government and the public as constituents can have confidence that their representatives are held in a high ethical standard. Promotion of public trust. By adhering to a code of conduct, elected officials demonstrate their commitment to serving the public interest above personal or political gain. This fosters a culture of trust and integrity within the community, which is essential for effective governance. Prevention of conflicts of interest. A code of conduct can outline rules regarding conflicts of interest, ensuring that elected officials make decisions in the best interest of the community rather than personal interests. This helps to prevent corruption and to ensure fair and impartial decision-making. Professionalism and respectful conduct. A code of conduct can establish guidelines for professional and respectful conduct among council members, promoting a positive and constructive working environment. This can lead to more productive meetings and collaborations, ultimately benefiting the community. Legal and regulatory compliance. Adopting a code of conduct can help to ensure that the municipality complies with relevant laws and regulations governing the conduct of elected officials. This reduces the risk of legal issues and potential liabilities for the municipality. Support of good governance. A code of conduct is an essential component of good governance, providing a framework for ethical decision-making and accountability. By adopting a code, the District Council demonstrates its commitment to upholding principles of good governance and serving the public interest. Overall, adopting a code of conduct is a proactive step towards promoting ethical behavior, transparency, and accountability within the municipality, ultimately benefiting both the government and the community it serves. I was also trying to imagine possible sources of resistance to adopting a code of conduct by Mayor Sager and Council, and this could include any and all of the following. Perceived loss of autonomy. Council members might feel that a code of conduct limits their freedom to operate as they see fit. They may view the rules as overly restrictive or unnecessarily. Political dynamics. If councils where political tensions are high, members may feel that a code of conduct could be used as a political tool to target or suppress dissenting voices.
That's time, ma'am.
Okay, I'll just finish off. There are 7 other items. I have no way of determining if any of the above are shaping Council's decisions. I just hope that they are taken into consideration. I truly hope that Mayor Sager and Council adopt the proposed Code of Ethics for the benefit of Council members, staff, and our community. Sincerely, David Guthrow.
Thanks very much.
You want me just to shift into mine?
You're going to speak again?
Well,
For yourself?
Speaking for
I see.
myself.
Okay.
Do you want me to get up and...
Well, I'll just see if, is there, no, it's just unusual to have somebody, anyway, sure.
We've had people read for people before.
Just for the record, the council procedure bylaw says a person may address, but it's up to the chair, of course. Thank you.
We'll
And you are the
be
next
happy
speaker.
to hear your comments.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Elaine McCarg. I've lived in the Ambleside area since 1995. I'm here this evening encouraging you to vote in favor of the the Council Code of Conduct. The Code of Conduct that has come before Council previously and each time has come before Council previously, the last time 2 years ago, and each time it's lacked support and was punted back to staff for more revisions. The last time, which was 2 years ago, as Mayor Sager mentioned, instead of sending it back, a committee was established with 3 councillors and 2 members of the legal profession, as noted previously, whom the mayor and other members of council knew well and had confidence in. This committee began meeting June 5th, 2023, chaired by Councillor Snyder. There have been 8 meetings plus additional hours of work put in by the committee volunteers and staff. The decisions were informed by past work, comparisons to other jurisdictional codes of conduct, subject matter expertise from human resources, legislative services, and external legal counsel. I am the only member of the community who attended each meeting, often alone, until the committee went into camera with district lawyers and other members of council who were not formally part of the committee. As I sit before you almost a year after you established the committee and 18 months since you took your oath of office, oaths of office, I can't help but wonder why you would not adopt a code of conduct that has been specifically designed for this council, recognizing that other councils may develop their own. West Vancouver stands firmly by its reputation as a highly sought and welcoming community with a highly educated constituency, with many holding professional positions, disproportionate to the population, in fact, and professions where it is not uncommon for there to be codes of conduct or regulations that ensure that there is the utmost in performance. I know it surprises you, but even in West Vancouver, there are concerns that individuals or groups that have different opinions or lesser power may be subject to some form of retribution if they from others. The Code of Conduct is meant to establish a set of shared expectations for conduct and behavior to ensure that the duties and obligation of council are performed at the highest ethical standards. Responsible conduct is grounded in agreed upon foundational principles, which further enhances providing good governance to the community. Ideally, a Code of Conduct is adopted before you need it, and ideally you never need it. Staff, residents, volunteers, partners deserve to feel safe, heard, and treated with a consistently high level of respect, and to see you deliver on your commitments to the community. Adopting it would demonstrate that you stand by the need to go beyond your oath of office and provide a framework of safety, transparency, and an example of leadership. I'm asking you to vote in favor of the Code of Conduct, and should you decide not to adopt it, I do hope that you explain it to the community as to why in a transparent manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCard.
The next speaker is David Marley.
Mr. Marley. Sir? Certainly, of course.
Just
Yes,
sorry.
Councillor
to interrupt.
Gambioli.
Just a clarification question, I guess, for Mr. Cook. When Mr. Thomas spoke earlier, I didn't write it all down, the order in which he said it, but he said that he believed that council were already covered by the community charter, by the respectful workplace bylaw, which I believe we determined during our committee meetings was not the case, and another one. So I'm confused, because my understanding of this entire year's worth of meetings is that we are not covered by anything in terms of council council conduct towards staff in particular and each other. So I just want some clarification on that, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Sager, through you to Councillor Gambioli. I would defer to the chair, ideally, to respond to that query. However, having said that, I can say with some certainty that the workplace harassment policy, the full name of which I've forgotten, I apologize, it does talk about anyone's behavior, but it doesn't talk about council to councillor. And the purpose of this council code of conduct, bylaw, was to provide a councillor to councillor bylaw, as well as a process by which to resolve complaints between council members. There is already one that exists that would, for example, allow me to go through a process of complaint against a member of council or another member of staff, should I feel that I was bullied or harassed in the workplace. Community charter provisions I can't speak to off the top of my head, I apologize, and the council procedure bylaw, I believe, does have some high-level language about council decorum and how to behave in a council meeting, but it doesn't go to the same granular level of providing a remediation process, or in this case, processes. I believe there are 3 different processes set out in this proposed bylaw. So I think that is the main difference, but I'll defer to the chair and to Mr. Thomas.
Councillor Snyder might answer that or discuss that, but let's hear from Mr. Marley. And can I just ask how many others we've got after Mr. Marley?
After Mr. Marley, we've got Gary Porosnik, who has also provided a handout for me to distribute, Richard Fisher, and on WebEx, Sheila Mon. So 3 more.
Thanks very much. Mr. Marley, nice to see you this evening.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. My name is David Marley. I live on Inglewood Avenue, have done for the last 33 years. This is the most consequential vote, in my opinion, council will cast so far in its term. I'm here to speak in opposition to the proposal for 4 reasons. The first one is that, like Mr. Thomas before me, I believe it's unnecessary. I adopt what he said entirely. Secondly, Well, let me say this in addition to that. Other than the criminal code and the laws of defamation, really the only people who should sit in judgment of council are the electors of West Vancouver, and they get to do that on a periodic basis. If they feel one or more of your conduct is inappropriate, they'll let you know at the ballot box. The second reason is that if you build it, they will come. There will be all kinds of complaints for certain, as Mr. Thomas said, and that will serve to distract councillors from their roles and responsibilities. It will also add a not inconsequential cost to the district taxpayer, as Mr. Thomas said. And finally, I suspect it will discourage other people from seeking to serve on council if they read such a document in advance. They'll say, no, thank you very much. That's why I suggest this code should not be adopted. First of all is section 5.36, the communication protocol, which says the mayor is the primary spokesperson for the district, but may also delegate such responsibilities to the municipal manager and or the director of community relations and communications. In a democratic self-governing body politic, that's utterly inappropriate. Nobody but an elected official should ever be the principal or official spokesperson for a level of government. That's why we have an acting mayor. If the mayor isn't here, the acting mayor should say so. It should never be an unelected individual. And secondly, section 5.6, interaction with staff, volunteers, and advisory body members. This is worded in a very broad way. It's open to a great deal of interpretation. It's the sort of thing that lawyers live for, particularly when their meters are spinning. So for those reasons, I suggest respectfully that you do not adopt this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marley. The next speaker.
The next speaker is Mr. Gary Porosnik, who has asked me to hand out this email from 2023, which I'll do. But sir, I'll start your...
Thank you, Mr. Porosnik.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm handing out the notice to you that I gave a year ago when you originally brought this up and you were thinking of not adopting it. And I gave you several reasons why you should. And I wanted to remind you of those reasons. I don't have to redraft them. I consider myself an expert in this area. I'm a fellow in the CPA Institute. We have a very stringent code of conduct. I'm a trustee in bankruptcy under the Federal Act. We have a very strict code of conduct. It means I act as a court officer in most cases. And then I have to abide by the court rules. And they have additional codes of conduct. That also brings me in contact with hundreds of lawyers and the medical and the legal system. It also brings me, I'm also a managing broker of a very specialized real estate firm I created in order that I could turn around and save golf courses, hotels, and things like that. So it's a very specialized firm that only I use, and I don't use it for real estate generally. So it's restructurings. So probably I come across most professions in my professional career in terms of engineers, architects, you name it. And then in my personal life, I come across teachers and nurses and doctors and people like that. And I've sat on many boards. I probably have 100 man-years of boards, including the Vancouver Coastal Health, VGH, UBC Hospital Foundation, the BC Business Council, Sauder Business School, and many others. There are thousands of people in West Vancouver that abide by a code of conduct. It is what our society basically exists. At least 5 of you, I figure, have had a code of conduct at some time in your careers. And for someone to say that we can't have codes and we shouldn't have codes is almost preposterous. Now, what's happened on the political side, and I think I can answer through my research about, are you covered by codes right now? No, you're not. You're covered by the broad one, the province, in a general way. But what they found is that they could not hold council members or the mayor accountable in their jurisdiction unless you adopt the code. And so that they need that direct legislative authority to make you accountable to the public, the people that did elect you. And I disagree with the former speaker about elected officials should be the only ones speaking on behalf of the electorate, because elected officials are not subject matter experts on everything. They need staff and people to tell them what the rules are and for them to be guided by that. And so you have officers and directors of public companies all throughout this country. You are operating a very large business. And for you not to be covered by a code of conduct when, there are thousands of businesses across the country and thousands of businesses right in Vancouver that are directors and officers, and therefore that's why insurance companies will provide professional liability of directors and officers, because you are abiding with your code. And your code is a model code developed by your regulator in consultation with the Union of Municipalities, which you're a member, and your professional staff body. So I would think it's really ballsy for you not to accept.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So I endorse it.
There we go. The next speaker is Richard Fisher, and the final speaker on the list is C. Mon via WebEx. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Richard
thank you,
Fisher,
sir.
West Vancouver, long-time resident, almost 11 years now. Feels longer. I think a couple of things. I thought I'd walked into Alice in Wonderland here when somebody said that you don't want a code of conduct because it might deter some people standing for council. That's rather speaking to the issue, isn't it? I think, we really do want people of the highest standard in our places. We don't want anyone being put off by a code of conduct saying, oh, I'm not going to run for office. And the other thing is, as everyone knows full well, an election is not a referendum on a single issue. Just because one councillor may have a disagreement with another or a spat or whatever it is, you cannot expect, nor should the electorate be made to vote on that specific issue. It isn't a specific issue. It's about day-to-day running an accountancy and morality and all those things that should be obvious and unfortunately are not. So that's why you need a code of conduct. As previous guy said, every single body has one. We all work in multiple ones. I think you would be wise to adopt it because of the way it makes the council look. And I don't think it's covered by legislation. You can't say, if you guys have a disagreement, you can sue each other for defamation. I mean, that's no way to go. We can't be running a council that way. So I think you need it to protect yourself. It protects you and it protects the persons you deal with because you know the boundaries. They're set down, they're in a code of conduct, you can see them. And believe me, big organizations, small organizations, they all need these things because so people know where the lines are before they cross them and not after. And perhaps it's time, I think Councillor Cassidy, you said something about stepping it to our kids here about stepping out of your comfort zone. Maybe that's the time for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. And the last speaker.
Someone else has signed up in the meantime, Mayor Sager. So the second to last speaker.
Is the next person that signed up in the chamber?
That's correct.
Let's do
Chamber
people
first?
in the chamber and then we'll go to WebEx.
Understood. Sandy Lytle.
Thank you. Ms. Lytle, thank you for joining us this evening.
Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I've made a few notes here. I do support the theory of code of conduct, but this is not it. I read it, 110 pages, and that compares to Vancouver. I consulted Mr. Google today with 19 pages, Surrey with 25 pages, Port Moody with 8 pages, the Canadian Medical Association with 7 pages, etc. Now, this code of conduct as it's written is over the top. As was mentioned, there are other statutes that cover these things. A good manager can figure things out, and we've got lots of managers in this district. It gives a lot of power to the municipal manager. And who is this integrity officer? How much will they be paid? What will their job be? It seems to be more a job for a lawyer and not for somebody sorting out disagreements. I also am concerned that this document will be used to weaponize disagreements instead of solving them in a more harmonious, congenial manner if there is some sort of disagreement. And lastly, when I compared this to Vancouver and some other jurisdictions locally, it seems to be tilted in favor of staff. Maybe that's because staff wrote it, but it does not seem to be putting council and staff on equal standing as far as relations with each other. It needs to be more balanced. As it stands, as I see it, it's a recipe for chaos and disharmony. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lytle. Is there anyone else in the chamber before we go on to WebEx who wishes to address council on this subject tonight? Thank you. Let's take the last call then.
Okay, thank you. Simon, you should be able to turn on your microphone at this point and your camera if you wish. You have 3 minutes to address council.
Okay. Good, you can hear me okay?
It's a little bit quiet. If you could speak up a bit.
Okay. Is it okay now?
That's better. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this. In my view, the Code of Conduct bylaw is sober-minded in theory and has many common sense points, but in practice, it raises serious questions for democracy, and I oppose it. Taxpayers elect mayors and councils to speak and act freely and naturally when making decisions for the district without worrying about what an unelected integrity commissioner with an unknown term of office might think or feel. Installing an integrity commissioner to investigate and decide whether, for example, 5.4.e was violated and a staff member was intentionally made to, quote, feel upset and their, quote, self-confidence undermined is unnecessary. We already have existing avenues for substantive grievances and complaints, including union reps and human rights commissions. More importantly, how would the decisions of an integrity commissioner end up directing the running of the district? Hypothetically, unintentionally or not, a commissioner could make decisions that would remove certain political views through repeated decisions against councillors who hold those views, and councillors with opposing views could use the bylaw to do likewise. For example, the popular mayor of Medicine Hat ran on bringing democratic accountability to the city. In its August 21st, 2023 council meeting video, around 1:52 is a pointed but restrained exchange between that mayor and its city manager, who admitted, offering an excuse, to acting without authority and realigning staff to report to themselves instead of the mayor. Shockingly, it was that mayor who was stripped of mayoral powers and ordered not to have contact with staff on a violation of the Code of Conduct bylaw. She is now considering her legal options, and based on reports and common sense, she will win. If our best and brightest municipal mayors and councils' behaviors can be investigated by an unelected integrity commissioner, are residents next? Will we have neighborhood integrity commissioners with authority to freeze our bank accounts, like the now vindicated Freedom Trucker Convoy? Liberal Bill Maher said last week in a scathing rebuke of radical left policies in Canada, quote, "They say in politics, liberals are the gas pedal and conservatives are the brakes, and I'm generally with the gas pedal, but not if we're driving off a cliff," end quote. All good intentions aside, in my view, this bylaw will bring dissension and infighting at the expense of the work of the district not getting done. With each provincial policy, most recently Bill 44, we are rapidly moving away from democracy towards the cliff.
Thanks very much for your input. I take it that was the end of the comments. All right, we'll now go to members of council. Councillor Gambioli.
Just again, just two clarification points. The second to last speaker, I believe, said that staff wrote it, but this was not written by staff. So let's just be very, very clear. This document was revised and approved by the committee, which consisted of Councillor Snyder, myself, Councillor Lambert, and Mr. Thomas in the audience, and Mr. Moss, who were both representatives from the community who were appointed by the mayor to this committee. So that's who wrote the document. It was not written by staff. And my second kind of question, I guess, to the chair of the committee would be the question around the issue of the integrity commissioner. My understanding is that tonight this is on the agenda to be read a first, second, and third time, so that if we approved a first, second, and third reading between now and the time it was brought back for adoption, that an integrity commissioner would be the policy to choose the integrity commissioner would be created. Okay, help me out, Pascal, with this. And that the integrity commissioner is not a person who is a staff member or who is getting paid to do this until such time as there might be a complaint. And our HR department would be helping us find the appropriate person if that person is ever needed. So I just wanted to explain that and confirm that understanding with the chair of the committee. That's my understanding.
Thank you. Councillor Gambioli.
I will
Councillor
comment
Snyder.
on that just briefly as the chair of the committee. So it was the intention of the committee that should the code of conduct pass the first three readings, that the discussion around the integrity officer would then ensue, and that would include creating a policy of how an integrity commissioner would be selected, the terms, what it is that the council would be looking for as far as input from the integrity officer, fees, structure, whether or not it be a stipend per complaint on an annual basis or whatever the case may be. So nothing in regards to the integrity officer per se and the selection of that individual had been decided or considered at this time, other than discussions at the meetings.
Thank you. Councillor Watt.
Yeah, several speakers have touched on some of my points, but I've written something out and I don't want to have to pick through it. So I'm just going to read it all, and I apologize for anything that may be repetitive. But we're bound by the Oath of Office, Criminal Code of Canada, Community Charter, and the Local Government Act. We're also under the daily scrutiny of the general public, political opponents, and the media. And I'm going to quote journalist Kirk Lapointe when in April of 2023, he wrote, "How likely is it that a code would be susceptible to varying subjective interpretations that in turn would breed greater distrust? A code certainly serves those who voted against those who won election, as if to say to politicians that with this code, you will never shed their granular gaze. The Code of Conduct further regulating language and behavior is open to subjective interpretation and can play directly into the hand of political opponents and anybody else with a bone to pick. The public is the biggest loser. It will stifle political discourse and mute politicians who will be too afraid to debate for fear of reprisal. Politics was never for the faint at heart, but in recent years, politicians are being humiliated and sanctioned for expressing their opinions, the very thing they were elected to do. Dirty laundry is aired daily through social media and formal news channels. As politicians are muzzled, we are witnessing the erosion of freedom of speech and fueling into the public's ravenous appetite for the blood sport of watching good people being brought down. It concerns me that under the proposed code, elected officials are limited in their interactions with staff, and the mayor is not always or necessarily the official spokesperson. Under the code, complaints would be handled by an integrity commissioner who ultimately becomes the judge, jury, and executioner. But who monitors the commissioner? Who monitors the public? Should they be the complainant, or is that next? Will citizens be monitored, and if so, by whom? The layers of scrutiny are seemingly endless. Investigators wield power, and their investigations can grow tentacles, swallowing valuable resources and sucking in innocent bystanders as apparent witnesses. They are morale destroyers. They distract council and staff from the real work at hand, and investigation reports can severely impact the mental health of the accused and complainant and shift the focus of running the municipality to defending oneself from potentially vexatious complaints. Reports are typically made available to the public, to the peril of the accused and the accusee. If investigations are kept private, the electorate won't know what resources are being deployed and what funds consumed. Should an accused council member wish to defend themselves against an accusation, who pays? Their legal bill could swallow their modest annual salary in a moment. There's no D&O insurance as there is for corporate officers in publicly trading companies. Does the municipality, through the use of taxpayer funds, provide indemnification? And without indemnification, no sane individual will run for public office in the future. Coast to coast, there's a growing mountain of investigations underway. They impede the normal functioning of municipalities and ensure the public humiliation of those being punished and censored, often for simply speaking their minds. One just has to read the Vancouver Sun to catch up on the latest reports from Vancouver to see who's in the hot seat. And then there's Kamloops. In just 9 months, residents found their tax dollars bankrolling 17 different investigations, with another 2 to 3 rolling in every month. The winners are the lawyers, not us here, not you. And it's the lawyers who are ironically funded by the very citizens who implore us to rein in spending. There's enough disincentives for people to put their names forward without an open invitation to political rivals and members of the public to go after them. Codes of conduct can and are being weaponized to shut down political discourse. We may live in a democracy, but these are dangerous times. It's a slippery slope, and I believe we've reached the tipping point. I urge my fellow councillors not to support this dangerous course of action.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Lambert.
Well, thank you, Mayor Sager. Interesting conversation this evening. As one of the speakers said, I'm not sure, though, that it's the most consequential decision this council will make. It's important, but I'm also not convinced that it's unnecessary, as a number of people have stated. The version of a code of conduct that is on the table tonight may not be the right one, but in balance, a code of conduct does have merit. I've become aware sort of over the last little while that there's a wide variety of opinions on this subject. And so I tried to sort of step back and take a look at from a distance at what the fundamental questions are and how I would answer them. And so I came up with this. Sort of, why do local government elected officials need a code of conduct? And so a code of conduct for local government elected officials helps guide their behavior and sets clear expectations for ethical decision-making, transparency, and accountability. It helps ensure that officials act in the best interest of the community they serve and uphold the public trust. Having a code of conduct can also help prevent conflicts of interest, corruption, and other unethical behaviors. Then I asked, is a code of conduct a necessary precondition for effective governance? I think so. A code of conduct is considered a necessary precondition for effective governance because it helps establish standards of behavior and ethics for public officials. Without a code of conduct, there may be ambiguity or inconsistency in how officials conduct themselves, which can lead to unethical behavior, conflicts of interest, and lack of accountability. By having a code of conduct in place, government officials are held to a higher standard of integrity and transparency, which is essential for maintaining public trust and ensuring effective governance. Now, I also know that through our discussions at the committee level, that a sticking point was around the issues of enforcement and compliance with the code of conduct. And so, should a code of conduct have to include these provisions? And for my answer to that is a code of conduct, for it to be effective, it should include provisions for enforcement and penalties for non-compliance. Without effective enforcement mechanisms, a code of conduct may be disregarded or not taken seriously by those subject to it. Including clear consequences for violations of the code helps to deter misconduct and hold individuals accountable for their actions. Penalties for non-compliance can range from warnings and reprimands to more severe consequences, such as suspension, dismissal, or other disciplinary actions. Enforcement mechanisms ensure that the code of conduct is not just a set of principles on paper, but it actually put into practice and upheld within an organization or governance structure. So rather than reject the current code of conduct outright, I would urge my fellow councillors to consider amendments or tabling and revisiting the code. We've had sort of more interesting discussions on this in the past week than we have in most of the year leading up to this point. And again, to summarize, I think that the decision to have a code of conduct is the right one, and I'll be supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor Watt.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that former Councillor Bill Soprovich, who I believe sat in these chambers for 27 years, he spoke with me earlier this afternoon, and he wanted me to express his sentiments, which were that in his time on council, he certainly didn't see the need for it, and he was opposed to it in 2021 when it first came up, and were he sitting here today, he would also be vehemently opposed now.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. It's funny, I actually watched the former council's debate on this issue today as I was pondering and thinking about the code of conduct. And I must admit I was quite taken with former Councillor Soprovich's comments. Councillor Thompson.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've got more of a confetti to put over all this discussion. A lot of what's been said here is really valuable, and it is a good discussion. I'm going to start a little bit with Councillor Lammer's comments, just because they're fresh in my mind. And honestly, you know, I don't believe a code of conduct actually creates the respect and demands the ethical behavior that you're asking for. I think our behavior does, quite simply. It's really as simple as that. I attended a number of the Code of Conduct meetings, and keeping in mind that the mandate of this committee was not to develop a Code of Conduct, it was to consider one. And the committee did their best to develop a Code of Conduct. If they choose to support it or not, that makes sense to me, because there's only so far you can go with this. And we know even if we adopt this code of conduct this evening, there's a lot more work to do. When I attended the committee meetings, there was a lot of discussion around how to define these words and definition that seem to trigger the need for a code of conduct. And, you know, quite honestly, they were so discretionary, they were so subjective, that even if you put in the words bully or discomfort or unsafe, you know, you have to ask yourself to what degree, and what's reasonable and what's not. All these subjectiveness to these rules we're trying to put in place. So it does actually, I share the concerns that many who spoke to how it could be weaponized or misused or become this trigger for endless complaints. I think one of the most frightening things I saw when you talk about people running for election, I don't think it's because, you know, they feel they can act bad and they don't want to be accountable. I don't understand what this whole concept of transparency is about. There's very little that's transparent about our public lives. You know, to finish my thought, Councillor Watt, as she loves to research and delve into things, sent me a picture of a link on a Vancouver website. And guess what it said on this little button you could press with your cursor? Make a complaint about your councillor. And you read that and you think, what does that invite? Someone has a bad conversation with a councillor, click. You know, I don't want to be dramatized about that, but those types of things I think invite this type of conflict that we're all concerned about. We do have the right to govern ourselves within each other, and it is in our council committee procedure bylaw. And it may be highbrow, but we have the ability to penalize our councillors, whether it's asking them to leave a meeting. It's even gone so far as taking away remuneration. We have that ability, and if there's the will and desire of your council to do that, we can hold each other accountable. And at the end of the day, if the public isn't happy with that, we have elections. It's as simple as that. And quite honestly, I think the public is quite aware of who they elect. And I wasn't going to tell this story, but I feel like I need to. And excuse my coarse language. But, you know, when the last mayor went for a re-election launch, she was in the K-Meek Theatre, and a former councillor stood up to introduce her and talk about why he was going to support this mayor. And he stood up, and there's a few people in this room who are in that and know exactly what I'm going to say. He stood up, and one of the first things he said, let's face it, I'm an a-hole. Only he wasn't being discreet. And he said it in a matter-of-fact and in a rather proud way. And it took me back, but it wasn't unexpected. What really took me back is a room of 50 to 100 people applauded and cheered him. And I thought, that surprises me. If you're going to concern yourself with how we behave, think about who you're electing. I may have more to say yet, but I just wanted to set the tone that this is the direction I'm going in. And, again, the Code of Conduct doesn't create the respect and the behavior that you're asking for. It is our behavior and how we hold each other accountable. And we're also human. And I don't want to dehumanize us. It seems we want to create all these rules and barriers that say, this is a rule, this is a barrier, and if you do any of that, you're basically wrong. We're humans. We need discussion. We need to be able to talk to each other. Our intentions might be good. They might be received poorly. At what point do you say what you said is far enough to take me to an integrity commissioner when I'm just saying, I didn't even realize that offended you? So this is riddled with so many problems. And so on a final note at this moment, I'll say to consider going back and making amendments. I believe the committee has done its job. And they've come forward with what they think is the best possible code of conduct. It still needs more work, even if it gets supported. But I don't believe this document is necessary, and I don't think it's needed.
Thank you. Councillor Gambioli.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to disagree with a couple of my fellow councillors so far. I'll agree with pretty much everything that Councillor Lambert has suggested. I sat on this ad hoc committee for almost a year now. And wow, I really am wondering if I wasted my time. So just to be clear, this code of conduct is not about censuring anything that we are saying in terms of our opinions in council meetings. Let's be really clear about that. It's got nothing to do with putting any limits on your right to free speech, okay? We're conflating a whole bunch of things here. I will add to what Councillor Lambert has said by saying that for me, this is about issues for the district of liability, of accountability, and of leadership. And those are the things that we should be, as councillors, concerned about, because that's what we were elected to do. It's about liability for the district in cases where staff or volunteers or colleagues feel that they have been mistreated by councillors or by the mayor, and it is our duty to act in the best interest of the district. And to do that, I believe we must approve this code of conduct. In the end, it will save the district money, which is part of our job, by having a mechanism to deal with complaints before they become more serious, litigious, and therefore costly. So first, it's about liability. Second, it's about accountability. Unfortunately, as has been said, these kinds of cases are appearing more and more often at the municipal level across the country. It's political, some of it is related to political behavior, and that includes here. To some residents who have said that they see no need for such a code, I say that what you see in public is a tiny portion of our conduct with each other and with staff and with volunteers. I've worked in this role for 12 and a half years. And I can tell you that I have witnessed on numerous occasions colleagues who have acted with disrespect, with harassment, and with intimidation towards staff and towards each other, and who have effectively gotten away with it because there is not a clear mechanism for complaints or for enforcement. I have attended mandatory training on more than one occasion, thanks to the harassing and intimidating behavior of my colleagues towards district staff. Do we really want to make Trump's argument that the mayor and council have immunity while in office? I don't think so. So it's about accountability. It's also about leadership. If a councillor or mayor is planning to act with integrity, treat staff and volunteers with respect, and has nothing to hide, then surely they would show leadership and vote for this code. And in the future, this code of conduct will encourage decent women and men to come forward to run for elected office, knowing that there are guardrails and expectations around the behavior of their colleagues. And it will also encourage staff, new and current, to know that behavior guidelines are supported and expected from the mayor and from council. And that is good leadership. So I will be supporting this code tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Gambioli. Councillor Snyder.
Yes, thank you. So just a couple of quick comments. I did chair the committee for the Code of Conduct in an effort to consider a code for this council as legislated by our province. First off, I would like to thank the two members of public that did serve for the last year, Dave Thomas and Doug Moss, for the time and efforts that they contributed to the committee, and very much appreciated. But since the writing of this code of conduct that was recently presented here today, I've had some opportunities to reach out to a few other council in communities, in municipalities within Metro who have adopted a code of conduct, and the impact that they found that it's had on the effective behavior of council and the effective nature that it had on working with staff and municipal managers. And I must admit, I was a little surprised initially when I spoke to a couple that indicated that they basically said since the introduction of their code, everybody is walking around on eggshells in fear of saying something that might offend somebody because of the number of complaints that have already been raised in their municipalities, making things a little bit very inefficient as far as the ability to communicate with staff moving forward. The other factor that was raised earlier today a couple of times is the cost to the taxpayers. There is no doubt a sense that this will be used as more of a weapon as opposed to a shield as it was intended. I think those are the words of Dave Thomas. We spoke about that many times in our code of conduct meetings, that this is, any code should be there as a shield, not to be treated as a weapon. And those that I've spoken to in other municipalities to date say that the code that's been introduced in their municipalities is being treated and used as a weapon as opposed to a shield. And the cost to the taxpayers moving forward is not insignificant. There was also some mention about the different policies that we're already monitored by. as council. And I won't go through and repeat them all again, but they exist anywhere from the oath of office all the way through to the harassment and respectful workplace policy that exists already. And that is there to protect members of the public, the volunteers, and our staff from inappropriate behavior of council. So they are already protected in the workplace policy. Councillor Gambioli does make a point, and that is a reality that there is not a policy in effect that protects one council member against another council member. And that's the reality of the situation, and I think that the other policies that we're monitored by, which include the oath of office and our expected behavior as council, should be enough to monitor the behavior between other council members. So I've been really torn on this whole issue, of course, chairing the committee and spending as much time as we did drafting what I believe was sort of the best draft that we were able to put forward with the input from everybody, but I'm really struggling to see this as a benefit to the community moving forward. So leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor Snyder. Councillor Cassidy.
Well, as most people know, I'm not a woman of few words. And actually, believe it or not, I was not actually going to speak on this subject tonight. I was going to let my hand speak for me instead. However, so where do I stand on the issue? First of all, for people to say that we need to have the courage to vote for this document, I totally and utterly and 100% disagree with them. We need to have the courage to follow through with our conviction that we do not need this document. This is another layer of bureaucracy that this council, and quite frankly any council, does not need. And I don't want to hear that all these other various councils have passed a code of conduct, because quite frankly, I don't care. This is an issue of, Mummy, can I have a candy bar? Because Johnny had one. And then your mummy will say, well, Johnny went off the bridge, would you go too? And that's my mindset on this subject. This is an unnecessary document which has consumed enough of council's time, enough of the volunteer representatives, and enough of staff's time. I would like to thank very much, profusely, the individuals who volunteered to sit on this committee and gave of their time, their intelligence, and their experience. And tonight also in the case of Mr. Thomas, who came forward to speak. I'd like to thank Councillor Watt for all the work that she has done on this matter. And I'd also like to say that I don't know what universe Councillor Gambioli is living in, but I have not ever experienced what she has told you this evening. Her definition of disrespect, her definition of harassment does not meet mine. I am paid by the citizens, by the residents of West Vancouver, to have an opinion and to voice my opinion. My fellow councillors do not have to agree with me, and I don't have to agree with them. But that is the luxury of a democracy. I am accountable to one entity, and that is the entity that I represent, which is called the residents of West Vancouver. Again, that is a democracy. And I'm tired, quite frankly, of where we are moving in a general direction in general on the planet Earth. But that's another subject. So that is what I'd like to say. And again, I don't know where Councillor Gambioli is coming up with what she's saying. I don't mean in any way to think that she's wrong, but I've never seen it. I've never seen it, and I've never experienced it. And I frequently disagree with people on this council, as they do with me, but they have given me the luxury of their respect. They might not have given me the luxury of their support, but all I ask for is their respect and the right to have an opinion. And I'm not going to give that away, and I'm not going to have another entity, such as the staff, dictate to me or to anyone else how we are going to act, because staff is not accountable to the public. We are. So that's all I have to say. A woman of few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cassidy. Councillor Watt. Oh, sorry, Councillor Thompson.
I just wanted to point out, because it was emphasized that it is our duty to lead with integrity. And so I've pulled up the oath of office that we all took when we were elected, and I won't read the whole thing, but let's hear the last few lines. I will carry out my duties with integrity. I will be accountable for the decisions I make and the actions that I take in the course of my duty. I will be respectful of others. I will demonstrate the leadership and collaboration and will perform the duties of my office in accordance with the law.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Watt.
Yeah, I just wanted to address a couple of Councillor Gambioli's comments. First, I would like to say that everybody sitting around this horseshoe, I feel, are decent men and women. So I'm not sure if you're thinking they are coming in the future. I'd like to commend everybody here for being that right now. And as for the bullying of staff and each other, again, I'm not sure if this was prior councils or if I have just been asleep at the wheel, but I have seen none of the behaviors that were insinuated by Councillor Gambioli.
Thank you. Well, just before calling the question, I think members of council have spoken their minds, so anybody suggesting that there's any doubt about where this is going to go, I don't think there is any. I must admit, when I ran for the position of mayor, part of my reasoning was I didn't like the way that I felt there was disrespect around the council table, and I thought we could do better as a community. So when the first idea of bringing up a code of conduct, when it came up, of course, I thought that sounded like a pretty reasonable idea. And as a result, I imposed on people in our community, Mr. Thomas and Judge Moss and members of council, to see if we could come up with the perfect code of conduct that might be copied by other communities. But I have to be honest, in the last few weeks, talking to my colleagues, and I didn't realize Councillor Snyder has done the same thing, I think red flags have to go up. We are in a really interesting time. One just needs to look at what's going on in Vancouver and talk to the mayor there. It is, unfortunately, it is becoming a weaponizing tool, and that is distracting their council from, as I understand it, from really necessary and important tasks that we were elected to do. And when I sat today and listened to our previous council debate this same issue, I must admit I was really taken by the comments of Councillor Soprovich, who, like me, has been involved in this process for a very, very long time. And he spoke very eloquently about his concern that it was too prescriptive. And he used the words, it feels like we're putting a zipper on your mouth in fear that you might someday get an allegation from somebody you don't know and don't know why. And the more rules we set in place, the more difficult it can be to go back. His final words are, I want that freedom of expression, and the more rules we get, the less freedom we have. And as former Councillor Evison said tonight, he doesn't see the need. I've been involved now since the late 70s, and in the course of all of those years, I have admired all of the people that I have had the pleasure and honor of serving with. I've never felt anybody was disrespectful, with one exception. When I was chair of the budget and administration of Metro Vancouver, there was one occasion where I, joined by two other members of the board, had to sanction a fellow director for inappropriate conduct, and I won't go into the details, but that's once in a lifetime. And I've never felt it necessary in this chamber or in the school board where I sat before today. So, but as I say, when we set off on this task, it was, in my view, to improve respect and dialogue around the table. But I think the unintended consequences have been pretty severe in other communities. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Contrary?
Sorry, I'm calling a question on the motion, and that is whether to approve the code of conduct. Those in favor? Contrary? The motion fails. And I would like to thank the members of the public and council for all of the work they put in on this effort. I'll go to item number 9. These are amendments to support enforcement provisions. Councillor Cassidy, and there's quite a lot here. I think we could move them as written.
Yes, I've used probably up most of my words for this evening. And so what I'm going to say, in the interest of time, it is recommended that as the following motions be approved as written.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Watt, thank you. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Contrary? Carried. Okay, we've lost one member of council, but I will move. I'll move to item number 11 because I know Councillor Snyder wanted to move item number 10. I'll call item number 11 the proposed Parkland Development Cost Charge Reserve Fund Expenditure. Councillor Thompson.
Thanks. I'll propose that the Parkland Development Cost Charge Reserve Fund Expenditure Bylaw number 5323/2024 be adopted.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary? Carried. Again, we'll pass on item number 12, and we'll come back to that item. Could I have a motion, Councillor Thompson, on the consent agenda items?
Yes. Recommend that the consent agenda items as follow be approved.
Thank you. And Councillor Gambioli, Councillor Snyder will second that. Okay. Is there any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary? Carried. Thank you, Councillor Snyder. We're going to go back to item 10. Could you please move item number 10, the proposed 5-year financial plan?
Yes, thank you. I sort of had anticipated that Councillor Cassidy would have been a little bit longer than just a quick one, but yes. So I'd like to recommend that the proposed 5-year financial plan, bylaw number 5324/2024, be adopted.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Question. All in favor? Contrary? Carried. Thank you. Item number 12. This is the result of a public hearing at our last council meeting. Councillor Snyder.
Yes, I'd like to recommend that the official community plan bylaw number 4985/2018, amendment bylaw number 5292/2024 be read a second time.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Gambioli. And now, of course, because this is the closure of a public hearing, there is no further public input on this matter. Is there any discussion with members of council? Councillor Gambioli? You're already. Councillor Snyder, do you wish to speak as the proposer of the motion?
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was on. So,
Councillor Gambioli?
Oh,
no.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, you want to speak?
I'm saying no to him. Question mark. No. Okay. Yes, of course I want to say something. So a few things to say. Sorry, I'm not very organized here at the moment. So I'm supporting these recommendations because I feel that this proposal, which has gone through several iterations, but is now a proposal with 36 units, is definitely the best of the two options. I think there are still some members of the local community that are hoping that this 4.5 acre piece of property could remain as a forest, essentially, but that's not the case. And so I think that, the decision between 10 single-family homes, which it's currently zoned for, and 36 smaller units, that the 36 smaller units are definitely the better option for the whole community. There were a lot of people concerned about trees and vegetation, and the presentation explained that with the 10 single-family homes as is currently zoned, the site coverage with buildings is 26.4% of the site, which means there would be more trees that would be taken out. Whereas with the 36 units, which have been carefully designed, only 21% of the site is actually covered with buildings. There will be 100 more trees planted with the current development proposal than with the other. There is 20,000 square feet increased in park dedication and protection area in this proposed rezoning. So again, it's a benefit. Whereas the 10-unit proposal has parkland but no public access. So I really believe that this proposal is better for the community. The total landscaping, servicing, and improvements with the 10 units was $2 million, but with the 36 units, it is $6.73 million of improvements for essentially the benefit of the rest of the community. So I think that's very significant. And finally, 10, $5 million or $6 million homes is not what our community needs. We know that from our housing needs report. It's still a lot of money, but an average gross area of 2,800 square feet is much closer to what we need to house new people in the community. And although it has a price tag on average of $1.9 million, which is exceptionally huge, it is still a lot less than $5.5 million. So that's why I'll be voting for this proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Gambioli. Councillor Snyder.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, you caught me off guard there earlier, Councillor Gambioli, without your mic still on. So yes, I do have a few comments that I do want to make in regards to this. So I do appreciate all of those in the community that came out to speak at the public hearing. I think that there's a great deal of value in hearing from everybody. There was both pros and cons. I also, as Councillor Gambioli, is in support of this development. I actually live extremely close to the development. In fact, I'm quite certain I am by far the closest councillor who lives there, and I would suggest I'm within about 300 or 400 meters of this proposed development. And there were some discussions originally. This should just all be left. And I think there were some comments from the community that, well, we should just leave it as parkland. Well, that's not reality, and that's not going to happen. The land has already been purchased, and it has been zoned for single-family homes at this time. And then there was further discussions about, these new developments. The 36 units were not going to be attainable and affordable housing. And I look at it and I was, well, hang on a sec, affordable housing. It's not being sold as affordable housing. It's being sold as alternative housing made available in West Vancouver. And it's certainly a lot more attainable than a $5 million or $6 million home. As far as attainability goes, I think it serves a great deal of the members of the entire community overall who are looking to downsize. There are elevators available in some of them for the seniors. There's so many different options. There's also a lot of things being provided back to the community that the single-family development would not be doing, and that includes the parkland. It includes the walkways through the parkland and access from Westport down through through the development, through the parkland, which reduces, it opens up a lot of walking areas, so people are not having to walk down Westport all the way down to Marine Drive. There's a commitment from the developer that the crosswalk, I believe it is at Cranley and Marine Drive, will be significantly upgraded for safety concerns that are going to be addressed that otherwise wouldn't be addressed. There are also a number of trees being planted far in excess of what would have been included in the 10-lot development. And so from what I've seen, I know that there's people in the community who all said, you know, we're not opposed to development, but we just don't think this is the right spot for it. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of spots left for development in West Vancouver, and I think that this one is as close as we're going to come to being able to fit within that OCP, and for those reasons, I'm going to support this development.
Thank you. Councillor Lambert.
Thank you, Mayor Sager. Following the public hearing, I spent some considerable time, as I'm sure the other councillors have, considering the merits of the rezoning application. And, my starting point is the staff assessment of the application that states, and I quote, "The proposal is appropriate and supportable based on relevant OCP policy." The relevant policy here being Policy 2.14 that encourages missing middle housing, and Policy 2.1.7, which is a catch-all policy that allows consideration of proposals that are not otherwise compliant with OCP policies. But there's more here. Other OCP policies relevant to the subject site that haven't been mentioned include Policy 2.1.1 regarding subdivision standards to allow smaller houses on smaller lots in existing RS single-family zones, Policy 2.1.2 regarding zoning provisions to increase the supply of coach houses in existing RS single-family zones, Policy 2.1.16 regarding the compatibility of residential development with neighborhood context and character, Policy 2.1.23 aimed at reducing GHG emissions by supporting transportation alternatives through housing location, and Policy 2.4.22 seeking to reduce auto dependency in development projects. So I see the collective intent of all these OCP policies is to promote environmentally friendly development that respects neighborhood context and character and works towards reducing the district's GHG emissions. Now, in terms of density, there's been a long-standing concern that the developer is proposing to build too much on the site. But what amounts to too much has been a key issue in the ensuing debate and is a matter of personal opinion. Arguments have been made and estimates have been produced that show that the proposed density of the 36-unit development comparing favorably, higher but not by that much, to the as-of-right density of the 10-lot already approved subdivision. The same goes for unit count, with the 10-lot subdivision theoretically supporting 30 units compared to the 36-unit capacity of the proposed development. These arguments are intended to render density as a non-issue, but they are, on closer examination, disingenuous at best. For example, a 900 square foot basement rental suite is not the same as a 3-story, 3,500 square foot strata duplex. Also, coach houses competing for site area with principal dwellings on steep lots with limited access options are not, in my opinion, viable on most lots in the approved subdivision. And the total buildable area for the 10-lot subdivision is significantly constrained by the prescribed site building envelopes and rock blasting limits that don't pertain to the 36-unit development. My conclusion from this is that the project constitutes spot zoning, which is to say the practice of zoning a small isolated parcel of land differently from its surrounding area. This can result in a zoning designation that is inconsistent with the overall land use and zoning plan for the area, and it's often used to allow a particular landowner to develop their property in a specific way that is otherwise not permitted under the current zoning regulations. With rare exception, I stand opposed to spot rezonings, and I believe most of council does as well, particularly where there may be unintended consequences impacting the neighborhood surrounding the site proposed for rezoning. And about residential impact, I ran on the platform of Neighborhoods First, and I placed neighborhood values ahead of those of others in the broader community. After all, local residents are most at risk of impacts and deserve a bigger say in decisions affecting their neighborhoods. Attention to neighborhood issues regarding road safety hazards to increased traffic noise and privacy impacts and environmental protection deserve more attention than the opinions of outside advocates for housing who have no connection with the neighborhood. As an elected representative of the community at large, it is vitally important that any rezoning application be viewed from the perspective of net community benefit. After all, we are being asked to approve a project that is quite different from what is contemplated in the OCP. In exchange for a few dozen missing middle duplex units, there appears to be little offsetting community benefit. There is no community amenity contribution offered, nor is there any provision for non-market housing, a critical need in every community. And finally, a comment about the new provincial housing bills. These are intended to boost supply, specifically targeting missing middle housing for median income working households in single-family residential zones. The new legislation does not, however, apply to West Van's residential single-family zones, as we already have built-in allowances for basement suites and detached secondary suites, coach houses. So there is no imminent prospect of significant densification of single-family lots, potentially boosting the unit count on the 10-lot subdivision to 4 times 10 or 40 units. But under any scenario, the high cost of land, construction, and borrowing combine to make affordability a practically unachievable goal for most everyone. So in conclusion, I view the project as a spot zoning, and it fails to deliver any community benefit except for a few dozen expensive missing middle duplexes in the middle of a mature, established single-family residential neighborhood.
Thank you, Councillor Lambert. Councillor Watt.
So I commend the developer for the thoughtful design, desire to provide alternative housing, and I'm impressed by the desire to provide community amenities in the form of walking paths, the riparian zone, and all the rest. And I feel badly that you've been back and forth with planning staff for so long and council on this matter. And when I first looked at this project, I was all in. But like Councillor Lambert, I have been struggling as time's gone by. Spot zoning has been one of the things that has haunted me the most about this project. And, I understand that we're under incredible pressure from the province to build, but I do struggle with the location of this project. And I live in a duplex. I own half a duplex in Horseshoe Bay. And it's on the smaller side of the ones being proposed here. But, and when I purchased my property 18 years ago, you could see up and down my street. There were homes, cars in driveways, and in a few spots out front. But legislation changes with various councils, and I soon found myself in a situation where virtually everybody on my street had a basement suite. It wasn't legislated at the time I purchased. I don't think I would have at that time. So I have watched the density on my own little street that would have approximately the same number of units. And it's madness, the number of units. So I say, if we are going to be going for more rental units, which will ultimately someday, 3, 5, 10 years, who knows, under this provincial government, I do prefer the concept of the single-family homes, some of which will be smaller in appearance than the duplexes, which will tower, some of them in the way that a monster home does. And I think that is what a lot of the community members object to. There is the principle on monster homes, but then there is the sheer size of the units. And these homes are built like mine, with the 3 stories at the back. So, I know this isn't what you want to hear, but, the other thing that concerns me is the strata fees. I haven't got a handle on what those will be, but I do think it'll add another layer of unaffordability to these. And currently, there is no room to bring tenants into them, although I suspect people probably will. There are many illegal suites near mine. So I am, at this point, more intrigued by the 10 single-family homes with the potential for, as Councillor Lambert said, ultimately building all of those coach houses may not be viable, but some, I'm pretty sure, would be possible. And then there is the rental suites, the potential for that. So I don't really have a lot else to say about it, except, like Councillor Lambert, I ran on a platform that was more based on what the immediate community, the residents living here, want and need. And I understand that we are in a time right now where the province is encouraging us, forcing us to build for the future, but I just don't think this is the place for this.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. I too want to thank the neighborhood and community for coming out to speak to this, and I can certainly empathize and appreciate the sense of this looming great change in their community and how it functions. And I think they did a lot of good work and communications to come out and represent their thoughts. At the council, at the public hearing that we had, it was a pretty divided group for and against. There's a lot of things that Councillor Lambert and Watt refer to and that I really respect, and the sense of neighborhoods first and what they want in a community outweighs the general community in weight. But I think it's really important for us to approve these amendments, because if we go forward with a multifamily project, these amendments actually do all of the things, they mitigate the concerns that the development creates anxiety in the community about, and it gives setbacks and settings and kind of makes sure privacy is maintained and view lines aren't disrupted. And I think this does a good job, these set of amendments, to say, if we're going to develop here, we're going to do it in a way that fits into the community the most sensitively. And the risk of putting in basement suites is interesting. Right now there's a covenant saying that they can't put more than these number of units on. I don't know when and how those will change, but I think also part of the problem that we're running into in our multifamily developments is one of our policies where we say you only need to provide one parking spot per household. And I think you've got more than a number of parking spots. So I'm going to support the amendments to these bylaws and do appreciate that it is a rather unique zoning opportunity. But, overall, I spent a lot of time in the community. We drove around to numerous sites where you've got these multifamily complexes, duplexes and whatnot, and many of them are in this area and around Caulfield. And they're delightful. And quite honestly, I work with a number of people in the community that want this type of project. And when we're in a community that's predominantly condos and single-family dwellings, this is an alternative. And it might not fall into the price point we all want. It's a market product. There's little control, and it's really not our place to say that. But I will say the product itself, a number of people in the community have me on speed dial to find out when the next project like this is coming up, and they're interested in looking at it. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the developers for their patience. It was a reasonably interesting part of the evening anyway. Pardon me if I sort of meander through my various thoughts to finally come to my conclusion. So I grew up in this neighborhood. I lived in this neighborhood when lots were being blasted. Nobody cared how much rock you blasted, and you just hoped your house didn't come off its foundation, as my mother used to say. And trees were being felled right, left, and center. And there was no Westport Road. There was none of all of those streets that come off Westport Road. There was no Parkford Dunn. There was no little school. There was no Greenleaf didn't connect to Westport Road. I spent my days hanging out in trees, swimming at Bottle Bay. If you said Bottle Bay, you'd go, what? Because Bottle Bay is now Kew Gardens, Kew Road, whatever. So the neighborhood has changed. The neighborhood has grown, and it has grown as a single-family neighborhood. And when I was growing up, some people were talking about transportation. There's only a bus every half an hour. When I was growing up, there was a bus once an hour. And fortunately, in those days, all you had to do was stick out your thumb, and that served as public transportation. I do realize the world has changed since then. So in part of my thinking about this situation, first of all, I want to commend all those individuals who came out and either spoke for or spoke against it, and their viewpoints need to be respected. They've essentially gone through this process for at least the last 10 years. And whether it would be the current developer or the previous individual, this was going to be a 6-lot situation and a 4-lot situation, with 6 of the lots coming off of Daffodil and 4 of the lots coming off of Westport Road, and it was going to be 10 houses. So I went back to the tape of 2015 when this first came to council with the Bodie family, who owned the 4.5 acres. And this is a heritage property. It would have been their grandfather, I believe, who owned the property. And so they had the right to build it as they wished. The only reason they had to come to us was because of the need for blasting and the riparian zone. So here we are today, and what was the discussion from 2015? Obviously the neighbors were in angst at that time, but one of the sources of their angst was the fatigue factor from construction. The developer of that point in time, the landowner, was going to sell these lots individually. So 8 lots were going to be sold and 2 were going to be retained for the family. So of those 8 lots, this developer was going to sell one after one after one. And houses would go up one after one after one. And the residents were thinking, we are going to be absolutely exhausted by the time this process is finally completed. And we don't want that. So under the current situation, yes, the developers could go forward, as they have stated, building a house with a suite and a coach house. But they have said to me, we are not developers, we are spec developers. We would have to sell one house, build another house, sell it, build another house, sell it. So we would go back to the 2015 thought of development fatigue. So with this project, they can pre-sale X percentage and go to the bank for the financial assistance now and do the project as a oneer. Am I thrilled, quite frankly, that the neighborhood where I grew up is changing to the extent it is? No, but I'm not thrilled about a lot of things in life, but life changes and you go on. For all those individuals who lived on Cranley, I was the babysitter of choice in those days. Having said that, there was not a lot of competition, so I pretty much had the market. So a goodly percentage of those houses on Cranley Drive still exists from my days of babysitting. But the top half of Cranley Drive, when you get past Primrose Road or whatever, it didn't exist in my days. There was no Primrose Road. As I said, the vast majority of streets there did not exist. So I have been driving around the community looking at opportunities missed. And one of the opportunities that I think was missed in the day was when they sold Hillside School. It is now called Orchard Lane. It is essentially a little self-contained street of gorgeous homes, one after the other, after the other, after the other, with beautiful views. That, in the day, had we been of that mindset of townhomes or duplexes, would have been an excellent street to put those duplexes, townhomes on it, because it's self-contained. The same with the Dale out by Lighthouse Park. So as I look at this site, it is self-contained. You're going to have the school on one side. Your other side is going to be Westport Road. The south side is going to be Marine Drive. Yes, it's exceedingly unfortunate about that traffic coming into Daffodil, but that traffic was going to be coming into Daffodil with those 10 homes who, had they been built through the years, would now have the right to come forward to this council for a coach house. So the traffic would be coming. So I think I have pretty much spoken as what I was going to say. Another issue back in 2015 was that the residents in the Westport Road area wanted to be assured that they still had an access point through the property. A number of individuals were very concerned because there had been a right-of-way on this property since 1949, and this was a point of contention that they were not going to have any access through the property. And in this current development with the trail, there is going to be that right. So some would say this is a neighborhood of single-family homes, and why should that change? Well, unfortunately, change occurs, and why should only single families have the luxury of living in such a magnificent neighborhood? And I would rather see the unit go as a oneer, i.e. a one entity, because I got politicized back in 2011 because the block across the street from me was going to be spot zoned. And I protested that right, left, and center. Almost won. It was the mayor who cast the deciding vote. But as the project was built, and it was never the project that I was opposed to, it was the rezoning, spot zoning. And now as time has gone, the project is excellent. I'm only sorry that that developer did not take the entire block and build it accordingly. So I look to your own as such, and I will be supporting the project. I'm very pleased that you're local developers, that you have a heart in this community, and I hope you have a soul in this community as well. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cassidy. Just before I call the vote, I must say I'm sorry I keep repeating years of history in the community, but I have called Eagle Harbor home for most of my life, and I love it. I think it's the absolute gem, the hidden gem. And I recall in the mid-90s, there was a gas station across from Thunderbird Marina, and there was a rezoning application to convert that into the current use. And there was unbelievable controversy in the community. It was almost a war. The council chamber was packed. There was rumors that it was going to be a biker bar. And it was terrifying because I was the mayor. I lived right there. And the council, unlike today, and I guess I'm a little relieved, I had to cast the deciding vote. And that is about the most difficult thing you can do when you live in the community. But after it was built, all the people that were mad as you know what at me came up and said, you made the right decision. And I agree tonight with the comments from Councillor Gambioli and Councillor Cassidy. And I'm particularly in agreement with the fact that a 10-lot subdivision where you don't know what the houses are going to look like, when they're going to be built, would cause community fatigue. Having this built at one time by a very responsible local builder who has shown a track record in the British properties of building nice properties, I think the community will look back and say, that looks pretty good actually. And it wouldn't surprise me to see a number of the people once in opposition decide to downsize and be glad there's an alternate form of housing. Councillor Gambioli, you're going to get the last word, I think.
Maybe.
Councillor Cassidy's gonna have another
Maybe
word.
not. Just a reading from an email that came in this afternoon from staff. We had a question at the public hearing related to the parkland dedication portion of this site. So staff wrote back to us today and said that, let me just see, during the public hearing, The question of maintenance was raised with regard to the proposed parkland dedication at the south end of the site. Staff clarified that dedicated parkland would be owned by the district and that it's the district that would be responsible for its maintenance, although the applicant indicated that they would be willing to assume maintenance of the dedicated parkland areas. Should council wish to instruct staff to prepare a maintenance agreement or covenant with the applicant as a condition of adoption, the following motion should be considered during second and third readings of the bylaw at tonight's meeting. So would that be the fifth thing on the list?
If you would like to add that,
So
I'll take that as a...
the wording is that council enter into a section 219 covenant to require the owner assume maintenance of the dedicated parkland as part of the development proposal for lots C and D, Daffodil Drive.
Not really. Thank you. That's moved. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor.
I'm sorry, Mayor Sager, there's already a motion on the floor, which is the second reading of the OCP bylaw. We have a mover and seconder for that. We'll need to resolve that vote first.
Yeah, we should do that. Thank you very much for keeping me in line here.
Okay.
I'll call a question on the first motion. All those in favor? Contrary, the motion. Oh, I apologize. Councillor Cassidy did. We didn't vote yet.
Thank you. I just want to say I do feel a responsibility to those individuals who came out in the previous years and in this one, whether they were for it or whether they were against the project. I do feel a responsibility to give a fulsome answer to their issues. And one of the other issues was from 2015 was the maintenance of this property with all the vegetation, the weeds, the ivy, the particular type of blueberries or whatever. And the fact is, and there was a mention here tonight about the added cost to the project to individuals who wish to live here because it's going to be strata. And one of the things I quite like is the fact that it's strata, because one of the things about a strata council is they definitely keep you on your toes as far as the look of the property, because they also all have a financial invested interest in that property. So all this, vegetation that we're referring to, otherwise known as weeds, will be well taken care of. And my second point is that was brought forward again in 2015 and also at our open meeting the other evening, was there is no sort of infrastructure to support anything. Where would you go to a restaurant? Where would you go to this? Where would you go to that? You have to get in your car and go there. Well, it won't kill you to drive up Westport Road to Caulfield, that's number one. But number two, they have a lovely little area right across from Thunderbird Marina that with a greater populace could be driving either foot traffic or car traffic to the little restaurant or other little shops or such the like. You know the old expression, build it and they will come. So just like the Iserta restaurant out there, which has totally and utterly revitalized that little community in Caulfield, I see much the same occurring here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cassidy. I'm now going to officially call the question on the first motion, which is official community plan bylaw amendment reading for the second time. That's been moved and seconded. I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary? Motion is carried. Councillor Snyder, I think we'll move your amendment, Councillor Gambioli, at item number 3 on there. Councillor Snyder.
Thank you. I'd like to recommend that the proposed official community plan bylaw number 4985, 2018, amendment bylaw number 5292, 2024 be read a third time.
Thank you. Thank you. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary, the motion carries. The next bylaw, please, Councillor Snyder.
Yes, I'd like to recommend that the proposed zoning bylaw number 4662, 2010, amendment bylaw number 5293, 2024, be read a second time.
And I think at this point in time, if you would take it as a friendly amendment, Councillor Gambioli's suggestion here.
I don't think it's a friendly amendment. I think it's an additional, correct me if I'm wrong.
Is Mr. Bailey here? Yes, he is. Mr. Bailey, could you just direct us on this, please? Do you mind?
I think we're just seeking some clarity on whether this is an amendment to the bylaw.
What would you recommend if council is of a mind to?
I think I would recommend, Mr. Mayor, that you move second reading of the zoning bylaw, and then you move the additional motion regarding the park.
Okay. I'll call a question on the second reading of the zoning bylaw. All those in favor? Contrary, the motion is carried. And then now, Councillor Gambioli, would you like to make that motion?
Yes, please. Okay.
Councillor Gambioli is making the motion as written and is now in front of you on the table. Is there a seconder? Councillor Thompson, thank you. Is there any discussion? Councillor Snyder, you have your mic on, but no discussion. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Contrary, the motion is carried. And third reading.
I'd like to recommend that the proposed zoning bylaw number 4662, 2010, amendment bylaw number 5293, 2024, be read a third time.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you. Any discussion? Question? All in favor? Contrary? Motion is carried. We'll now turn to item reports from Mayor and Council. I think we've got a report both from Councillor Cassidy and Councillor Thompson, and I know given the hour, they're going to make them brief and succinct.
Super quick. Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
I will be brief, but I just want to tell you how much Council enjoyed attending a first responders exercise down in Deep Cove with all the North Shore search and rescue, fire, police, West Van Water, all these emergency response places where they were doing an exercise, and our fire chief showed us around and made sure our time was well spent and we got the information we need. And it just left me with the impression that we have a plan for North Shore emergency, and we're going to be well taken care of.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy.
Councillor Thompson forgot to mention that we went up in a helicopter.
Oh, you did?
Yes, all of us. So it was almost going to be a big by-election if that helicopter went down, but it didn't. We're here. Anyway, I want to say that last week we had the Volunteer Long-Term Service Awards. Councillor Gambioli, Thompson, Watt, and myself attended. And let me tell you, as I've said many, many times, while this is considered a wealthy community, and we frequently address that in terms of money, finance, but what I want to say from the bottom of my heart, this is an incredibly rich community in the number of individuals who give of their time to ensure that that others can enjoy their time in this community. So to them I say profoundly and profusely, thank you.
Well said. Thank you, Councillor Cassidy. Could I have a motion to receive the reports? Councillor Snyder moved, seconded. Councillor Lambert, question. All in favor? Contrary, carried. A motion. Is there any member of the public who wishes to address council tonight? Okay, thank you. An adjournment. Councillor Watt.
I'd like to recommend that the April 22nd, 2024 council meeting be adjourned.
Thank you. Councillor Gambioli? Thank you. Any discussion? Question? All in favor? Contrary, carried. Thanks very much, and see everyone next week.